this style of humidor storage or any of these styles is the way to go for you and your cigars. Well, hey there, Claro crew, and welcome back to yet another cigar-related deep dive discussion, with today's topic of conversation being cigar humidor dress code etiquette. Essentially, for us cigar smokers, we have three options, or maybe four. Do you go with see-through cellophane, a tube or tubos, a coffin, or completely nude? No, not you. I'm talking about cigars, damn it. Go put your pants back on. It's not that kind of party. Stop it. You're embarrassing me. Jeez. Now that you have your pantalones back on, thank goodness, we can continue our discussion about cigars and their various forms of attire. We start things off with the gold standard of cigar presentation profiles, and that is the classic cellophane covered smoke. Like slices of craft singles, plastic cheese, condoms, grandma's sofa, and a myriad of other consumable products that slowly decay over time, we do greatly appreciate individually packaged cigars. But unlike those other man-made products that I just mentioned, cigars need to be able to breathe and absorb and release moisture. Due to its semi-permeable state, cellophane and its natural cellulose-based compounds makes for an ideal option for cigars to be protected and sleeved inside of. However, we're not here to discuss cigar cellophane in deep detail because there is a link to that below. Instead, we are going to keep discussing what this man-made product does for our cigars while they sit in our humidor. The first thing to note about cigar cellophane while it's being utilized inside the humidor is that cigar manufacturers put it on the majority of their smokes for a reason, and that is protection for the wrapper. Not only does this transparent product keep scuffs, scratches, dings, and bumps at bay, but it also serves as a way for you to still inspect the color of the wrapper and the vitola itself without having to manhandle it and get your nasty grubby paws all over it while you're in the walk-in cigar humidor. As I mentioned just prior, cellophane also does a damn good job of allowing a little bit of moisture at a time to permeate the cigar tobacco inside of it and release as needed and still be able to be properly discarded later on because it's cellulose based and breaks down pretty damn quick. All of these transparent perks definitely make cellophane the gold standard once again for cigar manufacturers and consumers, and I don't foresee it going away anytime soon. However, if you do plan on aging your cigar or cigars for a lengthy period of time, whatever that may be, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you probably will want to remove the cellophane if you want a more consistent, even distribution of humidity throughout the stick over time. This practice, however, remains highly debatable, with some people saying that it doesn't make a damn bit of difference and others swearing by it. I just know that a lot of times when I have a bunch of cigars that are of the same varietal and vitola and whatnot, and particular cosecha or year of harvest, sitting next to one another for 5 years or so, it tends to be that they age and help each other along the way and release a little moisture and pass a little moisture and absorb a little moisture to one another along with their aromatics a lot more evenly, and I find that the smokes themselves don't run the risk of being over humidified over time, which when you age a cigar, you don't want too much humidity and you want to tick things down just a little bit. But that's another deep dive for another time. Let's move on to tubos and coffins, shall we? Cigar tubes, or tubos as they are commonly called in the biz, are the ultimate form of cigar protection, at least in my personal opinion. Commonly crafted out of lightweight aluminum, but also available occasionally in glass or some form of composite material. Tubos are nice in that they aren't that much larger than the cigar circumference and length itself, and make for an awesome option if you want to take them and stick them in your pocket and not have to worry about your stogie getting cracked while you bend over to grab whatever you gotta grab down bottom. In your drawer. I'm talking about drawers here. Grab it out of the drawer. You know what I mean. Not only are Tubos great for protecting against a drop or a cracked wrapper, but they also typically come sleeved with a little bit of Spanish cedar inside, which makes not only for a great aromatic, but as an additional source of heat for lighting your cigar. However, when it comes to storing cigars in tubos inside of your humidor, it's better to actually leave that cap off and slide the cigar out a little bit, remove it entirely, or if your humidor's at a pretty good humidity level or a little on the high side, just leave the cap off and let the humid air get inside and allow it to do its thing, because remember, you got that little bit of Spanish cedar usually inside, which will also help absorb and release moisture and keep a bit of an equilibrium going on inside this little tubed microcosm. Beyond the classic Tubos, which, mind you, is older than cigar cellophane, believe it or not, comes something that's arguably even older, and that is the classic cigar coffin. While there are trapdoor hinged models and all sorts of fancy push-button gimmicky humidor style coffins out there, the classic slider with the little thumbnail cutout is the most common, as you see here. And you can see once you open it up, it really does look like a freaking coffin. I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet. Now come smack me. But the big downside to this design has to do with how you store it in your humidor. Because first of all, it will take up a fair deal of space. Second of all is that when this sucker is snapped shut, your chance of there being a fair deal of humidity penetration is a little on the lower side, and that gives me reason to allow these suckers to sit open, or at least fully open, inside my humidor when I store them. With the coffin lid removed, that should allow the cigar contained inside plenty of real estate and room to absorb all the air and moisture that it needs from the surrounding humidor, interior airflow, etc., and still give you the ability to slap that lid back on top when it's time to head out, fire up the cigar, and look fancy as all hell when you walk onto the scene. And then lastly comes the classic, the original, the nudist. While cellophane still reigns king as the preferred way to individually package cigars, the classic unprotected cigar still is in mass production and can be found on pretty much any shelf in any walk-in humidor anywhere in the world. However, for most non-Cuban cigar manufacturers, cellophane still remains the ideal option for protecting a cigar when it's being transported and packaged, inspected, on the shelf, being inspected by whatever fret that is firing up a stick after game day, or for those of us who do our due diligence and rotate our cigars on a routine basis. That being said, there still is nothing wrong with a completely unclothed or protected cigar. You just have to be a little bit extra careful moving it about inside your humidor. And note that if you do travel with them and you're putting them in a cigar travel case, your chance of damaging the foot or flaking up the corner of the cap or cracking the wrapper does increase quite significantly without a tube or cellophane. But I did mention earlier that I do prefer to take cellophane off a lot of my cigars when I plan on aging a handful of them for a prolonged period of time and slowly smoke through them year after year. And I'm gonna keep doing that because I've had more success than failure over the years, and in fact, I've never had really any failures. That's not to say that this style of humidor storage or any of these styles is the way to go for you and your cigars. In fact, you will probably want to play around with all of the above and see what really works best for you and your humidor and all of the cigars that you've been collecting, however many that may be. Whichever kind of cigar dress code you end up going with though, remember this: rotate. Rotate those cigars on a weekly basis, please, because that's gonna help each and every one of them transition and move some humidity and air around inside the humidor. Furthermore, if you do plan on taking any of your cigars with you somewhere, may they be in cellophane, tubos, or naked, bring yourself a little bit of a cigar travel case and protect them, please, because nothing sucks more than getting to the campsite and realizing you've got a whole bunch of cracked cigars in your bag.